Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Expert tonight with me, Coach BJ. Come on in this evening for this awesome talk that we're going to have. So I'm going to wait for some folks to come in before we get started. And as you guys are coming in, go ahead and let us know that you are here. Say hello.
Yes.
We're looking forward to seeing your names this evening and really having a great conversation around this topic that again really impacts our lives in such a mighty way. So I'm so excited to introduce my guests, and we're gonna have some folks to start coming in. So let us know when you get here. We are live, everyone. We are live. Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Good evening, Mom. Good evening. Thank you for joining. I know I'm going to have all of my regulars flow on in here this evening.
All right.
Come on in. We're excited to get started tonight. So I'm just going to wait for some folks to come on in. Welcome, everyone. Tonight, I see some more people coming in. Let us know that you are here. Good evening, Deborah. She said hey to her two favorite people.
Hey, Rev.
So good to have you as always. So good to have you as always. Everyone continue to come on in and let us know that you are here. Let us know that you are here. Good evening, Auntie. Thank you for watching as always. All my top fans are rolling in. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So tonight, our topic is going to be how to understand the many faces of stress and the strategies to manage it. And as everybody saw in the advertisement, like I said, this is one of the largest things that really impact our overall health. And I tell you, we really need to hear from our special guest tonight about this because she is an expert on this topic. She's going to give us her expertise, and however the Lord decides to lead her, she's just going to give us everything that she got tonight. And, for those of you who might be watching for the first time, just know that Ask the Expert is a platform where I created it for professionals to come on and talk and share their knowledge, their gifts, and expertise that they have in their specific industries, and to give us some insight to help us overcome the things that we may personally have going on in our lives that can really help us throughout our journey day to day. So we definitely want to, go ahead and get our notebooks out and our journals that we use every time we come on these talks, and to really see how this can really help you along life, and even to be able to share some of these tips. You may not even be facing stress at this time, so you may have everything going good, but at least have it available for when things may come your way, or if you have some friends or family that come to you and say, you know what, I'm really dealing with a certain situation that's really stressing me out, and you can remember our guest tonight and some of the tips and tools that she's going to share to really help you manage, again, this thing called stress, both the good and the bad parts of it. So again, our special guest tonight, introduced her expert licensed professional counselor, Dr. Lakeba Williams. Dr. Lakeba Williams and I, we met in church, but I really had an opportunity to connect with her at an event, Find Your Fortitude, where we shared the same stage as speakers at this particular workshop. And then we've spoken on other occasions since then, and she has just always been a breath of fresh air. To see her, to talk to her, and just have general conversations with her. She is an amazing woman of God. She's an amazing counselor. She is just an overall great person, and I love her spirit. I love her energy. And like I said, every time we connect, I just love speaking with her. So before we get into our topic tonight and I turn it over to her, I want to share a little bit about Dr. Lakeba Williams. She is the owner and director of Fresh Hope Counseling Center, LLC. A multidisciplinary behavioral healthcare practice established in 2012, where she helped individuals and organizations become more adaptable. Her training and credentials include licensed professional counseling. She is a national certified counselor with a BS in social work from Southern University A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, MED, Community Agency Counseling, in 2004, and a PhD in adult education, both from Auburn University in Auburn, Alabama. She has experience working with adults suffering from devastating effects of race-related traumatic stress, trauma and abuse, depression, anxiety, anger management issues, relationship issues, grief and loss. My God. With over 25 years of experience, Dr. Lakeba is committed to strengthening the emotional, mental, and spiritual health of her clients. So, as I stated earlier, she has over 25 years of experience with this topic. And as you can see, her work spans so many different levels that we all have experienced or will experience at one or another time in our life. Good evening, Deidre. Thank you for always joining. Lakeitha, thank you so much for joining. She said, woo woo, Jaguars.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Again, thank you so much for joining. Let us know you are here. And also, the platform is going to be available for you to ask questions. Use our guests at your will to answer any questions you may have, even if it's not personal to you. If it's something that you can help someone else with, ask her questions. I am going to turn it over to Dr. Lakeba, but I will be in the background. So whatever questions you have, I will post them on the broadcast so she can be able to answer them for you when it's timely. For her to answer those questions, which she will answer throughout her talk. So again, feel free to post your questions. And again, get whatever you need right now, right? This is what this platform is all about. We want to be able to help move people forward in life and help them with whatever obstacles or anything they have going on. So without further ado, I am going to turn it completely over to our guest tonight, Dr. Lakeba Williams. Again, Dr. Lakeba, thank you for being here. And I will turn it over directly to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach BJ, for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this awesome platform to be able to share with our people about stress. And it's always an interesting opportunity when you're referred to as an expert because I'm a lifelong learner. I'm learning something every day. So I anticipate today that I will be giving information, but just trust and believe I'll be learning alongside everybody that's on this call tonight. It is a privilege and an honor to share with you. I'll be talking tonight about stress. And that's something we all know something about, right? Stress. But what I wanted to do before I unpack what stress is, I wanted to help all of us on this call be able to tell our feelings apart. Because sometimes stress looks like worry. Sometimes it looks like fear. I'm fearful of something, so it stresses me out, right? Sometimes stress and anxiety look a lot alike, and we can't tell the difference. So I want to start our time out tonight to just distinguish between the four so we can learn how to tell our feelings apart. So what's fear? By definition, fear is our untaught instinctive reaction to a known threat. I'm going to read that again. Fear is our untaught, you don't have to be taught how to fear, our untaught instinctive reaction to a known threat. So let's just say if I'm sitting out in my yard up under let's just say I'm in a hammock in my yard and a lion, a tiger, or a bear comes by, I need to be afraid of that. You don't have to teach me that. That's just going to happen right off rip, right? So that's fear. And it's warranted to be afraid of that. If I feel fear related to something else where it's not that level of threat, then I need to reevaluate that and find out what the threat level is to see whether I need to be afraid or not. But that's fear. The next feeling I want us to be able to tell the difference between or to be able to distinguish is worry. And maybe you're on this call tonight and you're a worrier. Or maybe it's not you, maybe it's somebody you know. Somebody you know is a worrier. So worry, repetitive and recurring thoughts, sometimes in an attempt to avoid even more uncomfortable feelings. So I'm going to read that definition again. Worry is repetitive and recurring thoughts, sometimes in an attempt to avoid even more uncomfortable feelings. So the feelings that I'm talking to you about tonight are uncomfortable. Stress, that distress is uncomfortable. Anxiety, for most of us, uncomfortable. Fear, uncomfortable. Worry, uncomfortable. But the difference between worry is it's repetitive and recurring. I've heard it said this way: worry is like sitting in a rocking chair and you ain't going nowhere. You're putting a lot of energy in that back and forth, but you ain't going nowhere. So that's that repetitive, recurring. And it's usually to avoid feeling something that you don't want to deal with. And so what's anxiety? That's the next feeling I want us to be able to distinguish from stress. Anxiety is unwarranted or excessive fear, especially about vague or unknown things. And I tell my clients all the time, if you're thinking a thought that starts with what if this happens? Or what if this happens? Or what if I don't get so and so? Or what if the doctor says this? That's anxiety. A thought that begins with what if is going to lead us to feel anxiety, right? And that next one is stress. And that's what we came to talk about tonight, stress. So the definition here is the perceived inability to meet life's demands. And so perception is reality, right? The perceived inability to meet life's demands. So if I feel like I can't meet this demand, if I feel like there's something going on in my life that's too much, I can't handle it, then I'm going to feel stressed. So with that said, I wanted to lay a foundation for what stress isn't so we can understand. But I also wanted us, I'm an educator, right? So with a PhD in education, I wanted to learn how to teach people what I know as a counselor. So tonight, you got some tools in your toolbox already. I've taught you something already. Some of y'all can just get off the call because you know worry is like you sitting in a rocking chair. You think you're going somewhere, but you ain't going nowhere. And what you're trying to do is avoid dealing with a bigger issue. And I say to people all the time, your best way is through. Go on and work through it. Go on and work through it because you can. With help, you can. Stress is not always a bad thing. And that's what I want us to know tonight. Oftentimes, stress gets a bad rap. We think stress is bad. It's bad. Across the board, it's bad. Stress is simply the body's response to changes that create taxing demands. So my central nervous system starts to go in this mode of what's called sympathetic mode when I'm stressed. And I start to feel hypervigilant and getting ready. I'm getting ready for something because I'm stressed, right? So my central nervous system sends a message to all the systems in my body to get ready. Something's going on that she doesn't like. So we got to get ready for this next thing. And stress is just that. There are two different states of stress. And so I want to teach you what they are tonight. So positive stress is what's called eustress. eustress. And that's a positive stress. And what's called a negative stress is distress. So stress doesn't always mean it's something bad going on. In daily life, we often use the term stress to describe negative situations. And this leads many of us to believe that all stress is bad for you, but that's not true. So eustress or positive stress has the following characteristics. When I feel eustress, eustress, I'm motivated, I'm focused, I got energy. Some people call it flow. I'm ready to go. Eustress, positive stress, is short term. It's a burst of energy that gets me through whatever this next task that I have to do. Eustress is perceived as being within our coping capabilities. So if I'm feeling eustress, it's because I feel like, oh, I got this in the bag. Maybe Coach B has been working with me on some things and I'm like, man, I'm feeling like I got this thing. Maybe it's something I'm working on health-wise, or maybe I'm trying to make some changes in my, my workout routine or whatever, and I'm all gassed up and I'm feeling some energy. That's eustress, right? That's positive stress. It feels exciting, eustress does. And it actually improves our performance, right? So eustress is where y'all remember being in school and you started to study for your test and you're feeling a little stressed because you really want to do well on that test. That's that positive motivation that kind of hits you and like, you better get your books out, you better study so you can get ready for this test. In contrast to eustress, eustress, that's a positive stress, I want to talk about distress as well, distress. Now, distress is a negative stress, and it has the following characteristics. Distress causes anxiety. It causes us to be concerned. It's the antithesis of eustress. It's on the whole other side of eustress. Distress can be short-term or long-term. When I feel distressed, I perceive that I have gotten out of my coping capabilities. It's above my pay grade. What's going on? I can't handle it. It's too much for me. I'm going to feel distressed when that is the truth. When I feel that, Distress feels unpleasant. It's uncomfortable. It feels unpleasant. And distress actually decreases our performance. So I'm not going to perform as well as I could if I'm distressed. And finally, distress or negative stress can lead to mental and physical problems. And that's what Coach BJ was alluding to at the beginning of the call. She was letting us know that if stress hangs around long term in our lives, it can begin to wreak havoc on our mental and our physical health. So we really need to watch out for this stress. So what causes stress? Like what I'm talking about, that distress. What are the things that cause us stress? The top five stressors, according to the Holmes Race Stress Scale, are death of a spouse, a divorce, separating from a spouse, imprisonment, or the death of a close relative. So research has been conducted to find out, okay, as humans, what are the top five stressors for us? And I just laid them down for you. Maybe you're on this call and you've experienced one of these in the past year. You know, COVID has brought, if nothing else to us, it has brought stress on multiple levels. And if you haven't lost a loved one to COVID-19, you probably know somebody that has, or lost a loved one due to other, circumstances. And so that's going to be something that's going to cause us stress. But there are other things that cause us stress. Maybe you're on the call and you've recently separated or had a divorce. Maybe you're single and that's creating some stress in your life. Maybe you're planning a wedding. Now that would be eustress. That's some positive stress. This weekend, my grandbaby turned 1. And we had to get everything ready for her little first birthday. And we went hard for it because I ride for mine. I don't know about y'all out there, but I ride for mine. And we went hard for this birthday. Her mom, I'm so proud of her. She just threw this big old shindig and it rained and we still had a good time. But I'm going to tell you, it was stressful to get all that together. It was stressful, but it was good stress because to see that baby tear that little cake up and push it in her face like that, it was worth all of it, right? Maybe you're out there and there's some positive stress going on. In your relationship stressors, I just listed some of those relationship stressors. Now I'm going to list what could possibly be some personal stressors. So a personal stressor could be maybe you're in poor health or you've been injured. Maybe you've experienced a traumatic experience. Maybe you just started or are finishing an educational stage. That's a positive stress. That's eustress. Health challenges, that would be distress. Right? Trying to help us to understand the difference. The thing about stress, though, whether it's short term or long term, we got to learn how to navigate it because stress is a part of life. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting on this call, and all of us that are sitting here are experiencing stress in our body. As a matter of fact, physiologically, for our heart to beat, it has to be stress in the body to push that blood out, to pump that blood, right? So that's stress. So, but that's good stress, right? Because that means we're still here. We're still able to move in our purpose. We're still able to do what makes us smile and to be with the people that we love, but it's stress nonetheless. Another positive stress, maybe a personal stress, it could be moving into a new home. Distress, a negative stress could be I'm having trouble sleeping. That would be a negative stress because what we need more than anything is rest, right? And sometimes I talk to people and I'm like, how you doing? Oh, I'm just so busy. And that almost seems to be the buzzword for us these days. Everybody want to be busy. Everybody want to be doing something. And I guess maybe we think that makes us sound important. But one thing that the older I get, I've come to value just doing nothing, resting, right? Resting. Because I realize that we need rest in order to recuperate. Rev Rosier says this, I get stressed when I take on new things out of my comfort zone. Very good. That's an excellent point. And I appreciate you bringing that up because that is stress, because it's outside of, as the definition said, we feel like that's outside of our capabilities, right? And so it does cause stress if we're honest. I appreciate you sharing that, Rev. Those are personal stresses that I just named. I'm going to go to another category of job and money stress. Anybody out there unemployed? Or right now we're starting to hear, I've been reading some articles about the great resignation. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but since COVID and a year and a half of, maybe working remotely for many of us that are still in the workforce, working remotely has caused some of us to say, I want to resign. Like, I don't want to go back to that place. And so the great resignation is happening where a lot of people are telling their employer when it's time to go back, they're like, you know what, I'm good. I think I'm going to figure out some entrepreneurial journey where I'm going to figure out a hybrid work situation. And I'm not coming back till 9 to 5 every day. And some people have the luxury to do that. And they've made decisions to do something different because they don't want the stress of going back into the office. Lakeba, I appreciate the comment. She says, most of my stress comes from pain in my knees and the many deaths in my family this year due to COVID and some due to cancer. And peace to your heart and your mind, sister. That is distress. That would be a negative stress. And I'm going to share with us later on in the talk some things that can help us to push through those times. Because if we're honest, like she said, we've all experienced some degree or another of those things. All right. Shay says resting. Yes, resting. Just chill. Now that's that positive, just letting that central nervous system go into parasympathetic mode. Rest and digest is what it's called. Where you just chill and you don't feel pressed. You don't have to be running around. You just chill because the body needs to recuperate. Thank you everybody for the comments. I really appreciate them. I'm going to go into some ideas that I really want you to kind of open up your heart to and really get an idea of where this comes from. Work stress, personal stressors related to your personal life, money, bankruptcy, legal problems, children's problems at school, unemployment I mentioned earlier, being abused and neglected. Now that's going to cause stress because that's outside of what we are meant to handle, right? It was not God's design for us to be abused or neglected. That is against what God had in mind when he created us as humans. And so when we go through abuse and neglect and trauma, it wreaks havoc on the body. And over time, if we're dealing with that stress long term, it takes a toll on our mental and our physical health. And I tell people all the time, we don't have to stay on the struggle bus. If you're in a situation where you're being abused, you're being treated in a way that is abusive, you need to find safety because it is not sustainable to be in a situation where you're abused long term. The body wasn't designed to handle that long term. And it ages you. It ages you. I was reading an article today about a woman that was 37 and she did some tests and she became involved in a research study. And while she chronologically was 37, biologically she was 41 after they did the blood test and started doing some tests related to her health and her overall wellness. So for those of us out there that care, they say black don't crack, and I believe that. But come on, somebody, we can't just put ourselves in harm's way. We got to make sure that we're doing what we need to take care of ourselves. Reverend Dawn, I appreciate this. I really do, because overextending yourself, yes. That is one of the number one things that will have us in a situation of being distressed. And how about we're overextending ourselves, and the people that we're doing all this stuff for, they sitting back chilling like Shay said, because they saying, oh, Dr. Lakeba do it, she'll do it, ask her to do it. And so they falling back and they chilling. And they don't have the distress, right? They're chilling and I'm out here trying to do all these things, and if I may tonight, that superwoman complex that we have as Black women, we really need to retire that. We need to hang up our cape. We need to hide it from our daughters and our sisters and make sure they don't get it. Yes, Shay, because self-care is the best care. Yes, ma'am. Yes, it is. It is the best care. And I think sometimes because we've been groomed and indoctrinated generationally, we've had to be strong for so long. We have kind of taken on that mantle, and we feel like if we do self-care that we're being selfish. But I got to tell you, I say this all the time. If I'm not taking care of me, how am I be there for my people? I won't be able to be there for my people. Because to be under that much stress for an extended period of time is not sustainable. The body's going to start breaking down. And you know, I'm going to put my iPad down for this one because I really mean this. The mind is very fragile, ladies and gentlemen, if we have any brothers on the call. The mind is fragile and it's like a rubber band. And when you're in distressful situations and you're stretching your mind, you're pulling your mind, you're not allowing your mind to rest. Your mind, these ruminating thoughts, and we call it a thought tsunami in counseling. But if your thoughts are always racing and you don't have a place to rest your mind, that's why I'm an advocate of mindfulness and meditation, because it trains us, it teaches us how to rest our mind. But if we don't rest the mind, after a while, we're going to find ourselves breaking down because the mind is fragile. It's fragile. I say this all the time. You know, we really have to take care of ourselves and find ourselves from time to time sitting on somebody's couch. And that is not a shameless plug, but I think everybody, this is the truth. I mean this because I have a therapist. I think everybody needs a therapist or a life coach. Everybody. Coach B, you know what I'm talking about. Everybody needs a safe space where they can go sit down and unpack their bag, right? Taking stuff out of that bag and talking about stuff from back then, if you're going to counseling, or right now, if you're going to life coaching, like I want to change this and I really want to make some moves right now. Whatever you're trying to do, find yourself on somebody's couch so you can get yourself together and you won't be so stressed out because it's not sustainable. It's just not. We all need an outlet. Yes, we do. And you know, for some of us, it's coming to talk to our pastor. We get pastoral counseling. For some of us, it's going to a therapist, a licensed clinical social worker, a licensed professional counselor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, if you're doing a medication evaluation, whatever it is. I'm giving you the language because I really feel like we need to change the stigma around mental health and wellness. And so if I'm sustained with this traumatic stress, you know, we're dealing with a lot of stress every day, right? So we got to know how to take care of ourselves. And the way you do that is by learning those coping skills that you learn in counseling. And I'm going to share some of those with us tonight. But some habitual behavior patterns that lead to distress. Reverend Dawn mentioned one of them, overscheduling, right? If I'm overextending myself, that's a recipe for distress. Also, if I fail to be assertive. If I'm not being assertive, I'm setting myself up for distress. Sometimes we're not assertive because we're afraid that if we say no, it'll change the dynamic of the relationship. And the love that we were getting, we won't get it. And I know that's true. Sometimes we're not assertive because we feel like people going to think I'm the angry Black woman. So I don't want to pop off and I don't want to say, I don't want to just be, you know, I don't want to be adversarial on this point because they're going to say I'm Sapphire. I'm the angry Black woman and I'm going to get that bad rap. But I'm going to teach us something tonight. There are 3 forms of communication as I've come to understand them. And this will help you with your stress. There's a passive communicator. And a passive communicator is respectful of the other person, but they don't respect themselves. They're going to defer to the other person. And I'm just concerned about my boss and her, you know, I know she got a lot on her plate, so I'm going to take on more than, you know, is in my job description and my work responsibilities. And I'm just going to take this off her plate because, you know, I know she got a lot going on and I'm just going to she's going to give it to me. I'm just going to take it. So passive communicator, if it was an animal, it would be a mouse, a little tiny little mouse. And you know, when a mouse, you know, this little squeaky little voice, can't nobody hardly hear it. And ain't nobody paying attention to it, right? Right. So if I'm passive when I communicate, that's going to position me for distress most often because I'm going to respect the other people, but I'm going to disrespect myself. I'm not going to speak my truth. So it's a mouse. That's the picture of it. On the other end of that, you got aggressive communication. And so an aggressive communicator is kind of like a bull. They respect themselves, But they don't care nothing about how other people feel. They don't care nothing about nobody. They in the mood and everybody gonna hear about it. Everybody gonna feel that. They're gonna say anything they want to say and they don't talk in the kind of way and everybody gonna put up with it. They're kind of like skunks too. So I'm gonna use a bull and a skunk. But you know, if you put a bull in a china shop, what's gonna happen? First of all, what is in a china shop? Precious things, expensive things. But that's everybody on this call. And everybody we come in contact with. Come on, somebody. We ought to treat each other like that. As Black people, boy, and everybody on this call, we ought to just be kind. That'll help us with our stress. Just being kind. Learning how to deal with and increasing our frustration tolerance. You know, my best test for that is traffic. And when you got these people with rage driving and rage about masks and rage about all this other stuff, stress, distress. People are distressed. Everywhere we see distress. But everybody on this call, we're trying to figure out, okay, how do I get up to a place where I can communicate in a way that's healthy, where I can lessen my stress because I'm speaking my truth. Well, I'm not going to be mouthy, respecting the other person and not respecting myself. I'm not going to be aggressive, respecting myself. I'm a big bad wolf and I ain't worrying about nobody else. I'm not going to be that. I'm going to be somewhere in the middle, and that's assertive. And if assertive communication were an animal, it would be an eagle, where I just soar above the drama and the chaos, and I come down when I need to say what I need to say, and I'm listening to everything people are saying, but I'm respecting myself, and I'm respecting the people that I'm sending messages to. When we communicate assertively, it lessens the opportunity for us to be in distress mode. So habitual patterns of overscheduling ourselves, failing to be assertive, and procrastination. That's the last thing that is a habitual pattern. Some of us are on the call right now and we avoiders. And we put off, but that causes us distress. And maybe, just maybe, that's something that we just really need to go to God about and get some accountability about. Failure to plan. You plan to fail. The Bible says many are the plans of a man's heart, but the Lord orders her steps. So I'm going to plan, y'all. I'm going to plan. Now, I'm not holding on to my plan like this because I know things can change. That's life. But if we plan, we're less likely to be distressed. And if the plan doesn't go the way that we thought it should go or planned it to go, if our distress tolerance is we're able to deal with it or we smile through it, that's a tool, a coping tool to deal with distress. We call that ugly coping. Sometimes we just turn that frown upside down and say, let's go. Come on. Maybe you've done that. You're on this call and maybe you've done that. On the inside, you was feeling all types of ways. But you just decide, I'm just going to smile and Lord, we're going to make this through. We're going to make it through this thing. So let's watch out, y'all, for those habitual patterns because they kind of set us up for distress. How do we change those habitual patterns? The first way we make changes in our lives is just to be aware of it. To be aware of it, to have a desire to change it, to acknowledge it, and to get some knowledge about it. And then to actually to give ourselves a big pat on the back when we do make those changes, when we're consistent, when we don't procrastinate about work. We need to say, oh man, reinforce that. Make yourself feel good. What I just shared with you was ADKAR, ADKAR. It's an acronym that is used in the business world, and it's a change model. So Google that when we get off this call to find out more about it. But that first stage of change is awareness, just needing to know there's some things we need to change related to maybe procrastinating or maybe related to overextending ourselves or overscheduling ourselves. And then finding out, okay, what are some steps that I can take to change? So who's stressed out? Statistic-wise, who's stressed out? Women are most stressed out. Why? Why are we most stressed out? The statistics speak. Let's let the statistics speak. According to a 2015 stress survey by the American Psychological Association, there's a gender gap in how men and women view stress levels and how they experience them. And so we're more likely to report stress Men, not so much. They're not going to really talk about their stress level. And if men are on the call tonight, or the men that are in our lives, let's just be mindful of them and watchful of them, because they're more, yeah, we try to do it all. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we can't. We can't. We carry our loads. Lakeitha said, thank you, Shay. Lakeitha said, we carry our load and the load of others. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We take on everything emotionally. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Today, though, is a new day. I am very fond of this saying: I cannot do your emotional labor for you. Everybody within the sound of my voice can learn how to carry their own emotions and learn how to increase their window of tolerance. That just means increase your ability to handle things, right? But if you got your stuff and Auntie Janice stuff and Karen stuff and everybody else's Uncle Junior stuff and everybody's stuff on you, it's kind of like the picture of Atlas with the world on his shoulder. It's just too heavy. And I say to my clients all the time, I say, where is God in all of that? Where is God? If we're trying to carry everything, where is God in all of that? Maybe you're on this call and you're like, well, I didn't tune in for the preaching hour. And if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. I'm just telling you what helps, and coping is big as you're dealing with distress. Okay. What are some unhealthy ways that we cope with stress? Alcohol or drugs, comfort eating. Shay says, whoo, I can handle it. Come on, somebody. Another way that we handle distress is comfort eating. I remember, y'all, I used to eat them Cheetos, the puffs. My fingers, boy, I get my finger out of that bag, just orange all on my fingertips and everything. So much sodium in that bag, y'all. So much sodium in that bag of Cheetos. I did not need that. I don't do that anymore. Yes, come on. Reverend Dawn said you got to learn how to set boundaries. Yes, that's a positive coping tool. Very much so. Again, unhealthy coping, brooding. Maybe you sit there and you just nurse when somebody's hurt you, or you nurse when you're distressed and somebody, has said something to you, and maybe a relationship is not going well and you're at odds with somebody. You're not going to get along with somebody all the time. Every once in a while, you're going to have conflict. And sometimes we're averse to conflict. But I would say this to everybody on the call: conflict is a natural part of relationships. Rev Rosier said you got to learn to say no. Yes, you do. Boundaries. Yes. And some of our conflict, it exists because we're saying no to people now. What about unhealthy coping of fantasizing, sitting around and not living in reality, scrolling through Instagram and Facebook and watching everybody else live their life and not living our own? That causes distress. It causes us to detach from our very life. We're not even present in our life. Talking about mindfulness. A mindful moment will be just for us to stop right now and just take some deep breaths. Why don't we just do that together? Everybody on the call, I just want you, if it's safe where you are, just to close your eyes and just to take some deep cleansing breaths. I know you feel better because your central nervous system has calmed down and you've entered into rest. That's a coping tool when you feel distressed. Rev Rosier, the example you shared earlier about when you're doing something that's outside of your comfort zone, stop. Just remember that acronym, STOP. Stop. Take a few deep breaths. Observe what's going on around you. Just observe. Just be observant. Look at what's going around you and perceive the sounds. Get present in the moment. Because when we're in the moment, we have our tools, we have our gifts and our talents, we have our social support. But when we get in our head and we go to the past, well, if only I had went to such and such university and got this degree, or if only I had married this joker instead of that joker, that's going to lead us to depression and distress. If only thoughts. Like I said earlier, what if is going to take us to anxiety? What if this happens? What if that happens? You're not present. Present, be present. Shay says, acknowledge conflict. Do what you can about it, then move on. Well said, sister. Well said. As it relates to conflict and assertive communication, I would share this with everybody. You're responsible for what you say, not what the person hears. Because they're hearing through their lens. And their lens is the sum total of their history, background, and previous relationship experiences. And so when I'm speaking, when I'm talking to people and I'm dealing with conflict, I need to make sure that I'm being assertive and I'm staying on message and I'm respecting myself and respecting the other person. Reverend Dawn says, just those few moments of pausing makes the difference. Yes, it does. When you start thinking about the stress, it's good stress when you're getting up to speak in front of a crowd of people and you got a word on your heart or you got a message to share. If you just pause and take those few breaths, you enter into the present moment and you have the benefit of our ancestors. You have the benefit of all the study you've done. You have the benefit of just the people around you and how they're cheering for you. And so let's be present. Shay, you're talking about meditation. That I'm gonna tell y'all, that's part of my morning hygiene. So when I rise, I thank God. Thank you, Jesus, for waking me up. Right, that's the first thing I do. And then I meditate. I use an app that I use, and there's several of them. A free one is Insight Timer. Insight Timer. They have an app that's free to use. There are some parts of the app that you can pay for, but you can use it for free and get the utility of it. And they also have the web version of it, so Insight Timer. But I meditate and then I go in my app and I find the daily bread for the day and I push play on that and I listen to a devotional with a prayer on the end of it. And then I say my own little prayer on the end of that one. And then I'm ready to go because I don't know what the day is going to hold. I'm certain that there'll be stress. Some of it will be good stress, EUSTRESS. Some of it may be distress. I may get outside of my window of tolerance. But I know that when I start my day out balanced, I can find myself back there, right? I start in a still place, in a secret place. I start quiet with my spirit quiet. That's the way I'm able to maintain it throughout the day. But if I start frazzled, if I start worried, if I start anxious, if I start fearful, most often I'm going to end the day that way. And so my encouragement to us, everybody on this call, and I'm going to tell you, y'all could have taught this. Anybody on this call could have taught about stress. We must learn how to meditate, see the value in it. And it's the practice of meditation. Some people don't meditate because they say, I don't know how to do it. I don't do it right. I can only do it for 5 minutes. Well, it's called the practice of meditation for a reason. It's not something you have to get perfect. It's engaging in the practice of meditation is after a while, it becomes a part of your lifestyle and something you're able to do longer and longer over time. Okay. So meditation, prayer, those are all coping tools. I said ugly coping, smiling when you want to frown, your social support, delegating responsibilities. That's a way to cope with stress. Reverend Rosier said, you got to learn how to say no. Dawn said, you got to set some boundaries. Reverend Dawn said, set boundaries. We must do that. And I love how Shay said, let's just rest. Let's just rest. Some of us are distressed to the point where we need to get a therapist. Some of us, we need to be writing in our journals. Some of us, we need to get some more social support and able to deal with the stressors of life that we find ourselves dealing with. Shay says, same here, sis. Morning routine and night routine sets the intention. Yes, it did. Yes, it does. And see, we must live by intention. Because if we're not intentional, whatever comes our way is what's going to take us. We're going to be flying by night. And we must plan, because if we don't plan, we plan to fail. I'm going to hand it over to Coach BJ. It has been an honor and a privilege to share with all of you about stress. Good stress and bad stress can take us there, but we've got some coping tools to handle it. And I just want to encourage everybody, y'all, wherever you are, let's just give a round of applause for this beautiful lady for offering this platform, giving us an opportunity to learn something tonight, and always giving. She's always giving. Every time I talk to her, she's trying to give something and do something for somebody. And I know it's because she's so full and she's so blessed. So thank you for the opportunity. And I'm going to hand it over to you, Coach BJ.
Oh my God, Dr. Lakeba, thank you so much for the information you shared. I mean, it was a blessing. And I tell you, no matter how many talks, how much information you hear on stress, it's going to always look differently. You're going to always learn something. And like I said, no matter how much I know about stress, how much I learned, you really provided me some more thoughts about, and a lot of things I put in the chat. I mean, you even provided me with some things, the rocking chair, that you talked about, you talked about, saying what if, and I'm one of those big ones that, I'm leading with a scenario, and even I tell my clients, myself, I say, the what if starts with the anxiety, but guess what? You're stressing about something before it even happens, or something that you don't even know if it's going to happen. So I tell my clients the same thing, is that, because I'm a scenario person too, but I say that's what get us in trouble, because with a whole story and scenario that hasn't happened, probably won't happen, have anxiety and stress about something that's not even present, so I get that. So many nuggets you shared tonight, and I just want to thank the viewers tonight, because you guys were very interactive with your comments and your questions. I just thank you all so much. Shay sending hearts, Deborah saying thanks for blessing us. And, Don said these talks always resonate with me. And I'm just so thankful, like I said, you say, thanks to me. But like I said, this is, like I say, God put it on my heart to create the space for people to come on and share what they have given them. And that's what it's all about. It's not about me, Coach BJ. Again, I'm just a source. I'm just a space. I'm just creating a space, to do what God has called me to do. And so I just thank you for your willingness to come on and really share what you had to say, because like I said, I really believe it helped a lot of people. And you're right, going through so much grief, as Lakita mentioned, it's so needed. I don't think we can ever have enough talks on stress. I don't think we can ever have enough talks on how to handle our day-to-day meditation, prayer, so many things out. It's so needed. Your daily devotionals, set your day right. And I love what you said. If you start off balancing your day, it's going to balance out at some point again. In the middle, it'll balance out again, and I love that, right? It's just, again, those type of nuggets that can really keep your mind focused and say, well, I prayed this morning, I did what I was supposed to do. So Lord, I may be stressed right now, but I guess it'll come back around at some point, Even positive thinking and thinking that is really great. So does anyone else have any questions before we let everybody go on with their evening, and we give Dr. Lakeba her time to do what she needs to do this evening as well? I thank you guys so much for being on here. This is the last talk for this month. As you know, next month I have some more great talks for you guys, and we'll be advertising them. So again, watch out for that. And before we go, for any of you who want to connect with Dr. Lakeba, she can be, you can reach out to her at freshhopetoday.com, or email her at drlakeba@freshhopetoday.com. As I mentioned earlier, in her bio, you see the many things that she, assists her clients with. So if you yourself, or anyone that may need her services at all, please reach out to her. As you hear tonight, she is an amazing woman. She is an amazing counselor. And so I think Dunn had something else to say too. Day in and day out, we forget about ourselves, and platforms like these reminds us self-evaluate and to take care of ourselves. Absolutely. Yes. And Deirdre, she said, thank you for this talk. So she thank you for the talk as well.
Love her.
I know. Everybody is so awesome. You guys
I miss y'all.
Yeah, I know. You guys are such a blessing. And thank you guys for always supporting, like I said, and just coming on. Like I said, I pray, I do this because I pray that you guys are learning something. And again, something that is said or done on these talks that will help you through your life, and again, help you overcome any obstacles that you may have. So if we don't have anything else, again, like I said, I thank you guys for watching as always. And don't forget to subscribe and share underscore Coach BJ on all social media platforms, at the Source of Hope 1 on Facebook. So again, for next month, look out for July's talks. And guess for next month, I have some great stuff coming up that I'm going to be sharing personally through my that I'm excited to share a new program that I'm going to be launching. So you guys look out for that as well. So I love you guys as always. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next month. You guys have a great evening. Bye.
Bye.